لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فإنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ولن تجد له وليا مرشدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وكرم وشرف وبارك على محمد وعلى آله كما باركت على إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم وبعد يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم تنزيله قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. Allah تبارك وتعالى in Surah Al-Shams ayah 9 and 10, he subhanahu wa ta'ala describing the importance of the mission of the human being in this life, talking about the human soul and ego. He subhanahu wa ta'ala, after making 11 qasam, says قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. He has succeeded who purifies it. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And he has failed who corrupts it, who corrupts the nafs. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam himself used to make this dua: O Allah, prevent the evil of my nafs, or protect me from the evil of the nafs. From among the sicknesses and the evil of the nafs, what is called marabul ana, the sickness of I. What is the sickness of I? The sickness of I is what is called selfishness, egocentrism, or egoism, or egocentricity, or self-centeredness, you name it. If we look at our majalis, if we look at our conversations, if we really think about how we deal in our society, we see this sickness very present, known as al-ananiyatu. And Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in every single khutbatul haja, he used to say, وَأَعُوذُ أَوْ وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شُرُورِ أَنفُسِنَا. The nafs, or the word al-ana, hides many diseases, such as al-ujub, self-conceit, such as al-isti'la, supposed supremacy, such as al-kibriya or al-kibr, arrogance. It is one of the most dangerous words, I. It is the words that was used to disobey Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in the heavens, and it is the word that was used or has been used to disobey Him Subhanahu wa Ta'ala here on earth. When Iblis alayhi la'natullah rejected to bow before Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, his excuse was ana khayrun minna. I am better than him. He saw himself. He thought he was better. And on earth, we all know the qissa of that Taghut, that Fir'aun of Musa, who said in Surah Al-Nazi'at, فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. One of our shuyukh used to say that every single person has that ana rabbukum al-a'la, because the nafs always wants to be glorified, always wants to be treated the way he wants to be treated. And he, Fir'aun, descending Musa alayhi salam, he said, أَمْ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِنْ هَذَا الَّذِي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. And that is the word used by Sahibul Jannati in Surah Al-Kahf. أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا. He saw his superiority because of the wealth he has. And Surah Al-Kahf, which is to be recited every single Friday, is teaching us how to eradicate the I from our conversations, from our society, how to take off ana, seeing the self, nothing but the self. That's why when you recite Surah Al-Kahf, you will be seeing the solution of the four main problems of life. Problem of Iman, which is discussed when Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala talks about Ashabul Kahf, and the problem of wealth, in which one of the two guys said, أنا أكثر منك مالا وأعز نفرا ودخل جنته وهو ظالم لنفسه قال ما أظن أن تبيد هذه أبدا وما أظن الساعة قائمة ولئن رددت إلى ربي لأجدن خيرا منهما منقلبا. And in Qadiyah of ilm, the crisis or the problem of the intellectual crisis, which is represented in this surah by Sayyidina Musa and Sayyidina Khadir, and the crisis of power, which you will see in the Hikayah of Sayyidina Dhul Qarnayn. So this ayah is telling us that only those who purify, who cleanse the sickness of ego, will be successful in this life, in the life to come. Because this ana is what destroyed every single person that has been destroyed in the past, and will be doing the same thing in future. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. If we read Surah Al-Qasas, ayah 78, Allah talking about that Taghut Qarun, when he saw that whatever he had, it is because of his efforts, because of his knowledge, because of he deserves. إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ عِنْدِي. Allah says, أَوَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَهْلَكَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ مَنْ هُوَ أَشَدُّ مِنْهُ قُوَّةً وَأَكْثَرُ جَمْعًا وَلَا يُسْأَلُ عَنْ ذُنُوبِهِمُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. This is the word, my beloved brothers and sisters, that is called narcissism or khayal al-tawhusiyah, which will make us think we are right, everyone else is wrong. We know anyone else is ignorant. We are present, everybody else is absent. Our ideas are good, the ideas or the sayings of the others are not. We understand best, we know best, we can do it, no one else can do it like we can. Whenever we are talking to people, whenever we are having a conversation with people, our nafs تدندن حولنا وهي تذكر أو تذكر حسناتنا. We always talk about our accomplishments. We always show how heroic, how courageous, how knowledgeable, how we do. If this person is not dignified, he feels soft. If such a person has not received respect from people, you see him instead of, he's very upset. All his worries is how to turn the faces of people towards him. Very upset or very addicted with what is called today with fame. We want to be known. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to be dignified. We want to be respected. We want to be. That is the ananiya. One of those shu'ara said, "Arba'atun muhlikatun lil'abdi, ana wa nahnu thumma li wa 'indi." 4 things are main destroyers of the person. I, the selfish I. We, the racist we. The way of racism. I have, it is for me. That ananiya, he says, is the main destructor of people. Whenever a person is afflicted with this sickness, لا تهمه مصالح الآخرين. Whether people will gain benefit or their problems or whatever don't count. Whatever counts is what he wants. لا يعنيه شأن أمته ولا يحزنه أو لا يحزنه تدهور أوضاعها. This kind of person, which can be any one of us, or let us say all of us have some percentage of this type of personality. Whenever we feel this sickness in ourselves, let us remind ourselves of our origin. We used to be a little drop of sperm. Whoever touches it will have no peace until they have their hands washed. And in us, as we are alive, we have so many filth, so many liquids that are very filthy in all of us. And whenever these liquids come out, one will feel no peace, will have no peace until they get themselves washed. And this filth is in every single person. And when we die, we will become mayta qadira. If a person dies and he's not buried for 1 or 2 days, you find that very person who used to be or seem clean and nice and respected, you would not even want to be around. That is the sickness. And this is the sickness that Quran and the Sunnah of Rasulullah come to treat, come to cure. And we generally or sometimes forget about it or want to act like we forget about it. Many are the causes of this sickness. Among those causes of this sickness is wealth, or position, or fame, or whatever that comes in our life that maybe we didn't expect, such as any position as I just mentioned. This will lead to this deceit, to this deceiving character, which is called al-ghurur or al-ananiyatu. We can act like we are selfish. We can say it, but we can act like we're selfish just by indicating, selfishness in our actions. People, when they talk about them all the times, praising themselves all the time, that's a very clear sign. But when we are, doing things in front of people so that they can think or they can see us are good, that is silently being selfish, that is silently being egocentric. The Prophet ﷺ once was asked, الرجل يقاتل ليرى مكانه someone who is fighting liyura makanu, so that people will see him. Even though he wants Islam to stand against the oppressors who come to fight Islam, but he is doing it to show courage for people to dignify him and respect him. The Prophet ﷺ said, only one who does it for the sake of Allah will be regarded as shaheed, as mujahid fi sabilillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. When we criticize people, when we talk about how bad so-and-so is, when we see the problems in every single person we're dealing with, that is somehow egoism or selfishness. When I am blaming the other, I am passively praising myself. When I think that my opinion is the good one, the other is not. When someone is right, yet I don't want to, I don't want to back up just because everybody knows this is my position, and I will defend it no matter what. That is sign of ghurur, and that is kind of sign of marad al-nafsi, which is called al-ananiyatu, which is called al-kibr, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that kibr is batar al-haqq wa ghamtu nas, I rejecting the truth and belittling people. When we do things in our homes, with our families, which are not right, yet we don't care, that's a sign of sickness of the nerves. When we do it outside, such as, people are online, I come and cheat and want to be the first, or I park my car where I block people and I don't care, I don't have any feeling of guilt that what I'm doing is wrong. That is one of the signs of this type of sickness. And the worst of all these types of sickness is when a person is violating the law of Allah and the law of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yet tries to justify it, tries to see that what he's doing is right. And we have seen that lately when we have to do with what is called al-almaniyun. I don't know whoever calls this al-almaniyun, but this itself is belittling the deen. When you call this type of ideologies almaniya, you are saying this is the ideology of knowledge, which is not true. This should be called la ilahiyya. It has nothing to do with knowledge. So you see a person who's now called by the scholars muta'alim. Al-muta'alim is the one who deemed to understand. They've never had any specialization in Islam or in deen. They just read some books or listen to some shuyukh. They declare themselves as shuyukh, and they give themselves the right of jihad and to choose so and so over the other, or they do not do that out of knowledge, but they just do it because they have access to books and as the Sheikh said, "Man lam yakun lahu shaykhun, shaitanu shaykhuhu." Whoever doesn't have a teacher, shaitan becomes their teacher. Wal-'iyadhu billahi tabaraka wa ta'ala. When a person gives fatwa, and this person who's talking about Allah and the ayah of Allah, he is at the same time ignorant, doesn't know anything about nasikh wal mansukh, whether this ayah is abrogated or not, doesn't know anything about muhkam wal mutashabah, whether this ayah is explicit or no. He doesn't know anything about as-sahih min al-da'if, whether this hadith is authentic or no. Does not know anything about ilm usul al-fiqh, or how to extract ahkam from sharia, from the Quran and the Sunnah. These are called muta'alimun, and there are many. When a person is like this, his sickness is even worse. And we have that in our societies if we are not that ourselves. Because sometimes we have our own understanding of the ayah or of the hadith, yet we don't have any any knowledge about the very way we gain or we can have a hukm from the ayah. So when we say عندي, as the poet say يقولون هذا عندنا غير جائز ومن أنتم حتى يكون لكم عنده. You know, when they say this is not jais according to us, he says, who are you to say according to us? Who are you to say according to us? So inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, we learn from the hadi of Rasulullah, the hadi of the Sahaba, to lower our self and our ego, to belittle our actions, to be humble before people and more humble actually before Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. But there are sometimes when it is permissible for the person to talk about themselves, not to boast, but to show gratitude to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, to thank Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, or to inform, you know, what he can do because he is the right person maybe to such a position or to such a job. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Duha, wa amma bi ni'mati rabbika fahaddith. That means when you talk about the ni'mah of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, that's not boasting, that's not madmoom. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during Ghazwat Hunayn, he said, "Ana nabiyyu la kadhib, ana ibn Abd al-Muttalib," and he said, "Ana sayyidu waladi Adam wa la fakhr." I am the master of the humanity, but that's not pride. He didn't say that out of pride. If he was to say that out of pride, he would say even more than that, because he said his pride here, what he's telling us, his pride is to be servant of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, because when he's a master, he's with us, and being with us is not to be compared with being with Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. But when the person talks about himself, let them check their heart. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala says that he knows what is in our hearts. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ. Know that Allah knows what is in your hearts. فَاحْذَرُوهُ. You know, be careful, says Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So we really need to work very hard to actually eradicate or delete these ana in our or from our vocabulary. It is very, very dangerous. It is very rare when a person say I and do not see themselves as superior to maybe the person they are talking, or trying to have some type of superiority to over the others. And Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala praises those who humble themselves in this dunya, and he says akhirah is only for those people. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qasas, ayah 83 says, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. صدق الله العظيم. And when we look at the hadi, the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seerah of the prophets themselves, the seerah of the sahaba of the Prophet, the seerah of the salaf of this ummah, we will see these hadmun nafs very representative, or even you can say all their life is about hadmun nafs. Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, with all the accomplishments he did, with all the goodness he had in him, he was saying, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ إِلَّا مَا رَحِمَ رَبِّي. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he made dua, he says, oh Allah, forgive me things that I did out of purpose, out of forgetfulness, out of this, and he said, وَكُلُّ ذَلِكَ عِنْدِي, and all this is in me. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who never sinned, yet he saw himself as a sinner, alayhi salatu wa salam. When you look at the seerah of the Sahaba of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, let's take an example of in the person of Sayyidina Umar, radiallahu tabaraka wa ta'ala anhu, who we can say that he used to rule maybe the biggest or the largest part of the world during his time. And whenever justice is mentioned, Umar's name is mentioned. Whenever goodness is mentioned, Umar's name is mentioned. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam says, whenever Umar takes a path, Shaitan will take the other path. Shaitan is not there. Shaitan does not dare to meet with Umar on one single path. Umar, Quran comes to confirm some of his views. And with all this, and he was declared as one of the people of Jannah by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam in different ahadith. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in a hadith, declared that Umar has special place in Jannah. Qasr munifun bil jannati. With all that, Umar was among the most humble people in his life. Once he was giving khutbah, in the middle of the khutbah, the Sahaba heard him say, or the people who was in the masjid heard him say something that had nothing to do with the khutbah. He said, "Ya Umaru, kunta ra'iya ibilin, tar'a ibla bani makhzumin ala qarariqa fi Makkah." In the middle of the khutbah, he cut the khutbah and said, "Umar, you were just ra'i ibl, you were a shepherd, going after the camels of Banu Makhzum in Mecca." And when he finished the khutbah, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, the companion of Sayyidina Rasulullah, asked, what has this jumla what this jumla has to do with the khutbah? Can you please move a little bit, because we're having more people, alhamdulillah. Sayyidina Umar said, "Ja'atni nafsi." See, he used the word nafs. "Ja'atni nafsi فحدثتني وقالت يا عمر ليس بينك وبين الله أحد." It is my nafs, my ego, that came to me and said, "Umar, you see, now there is no one higher than you. Nothing between you and God now." You know, his nafs was showing him his superiority because of what he has done for this ummah, what he has done for this deen, what he has done, in his life. He was telling the nafs, "No, I'm not all that. I'm just that little boy who was going after the camels." He wants to say, فَنَحْنُ قَوْمٌ أَعَزَّنَا اللَّهُ بِالْإِسْلَامِ فَمَهْمَا ابْتَغَيْنَا الْعِزَّةَ بِغَيْرِ الْإِسْلَامِ أَذَلَّنَا اللَّهُ. We were nothing, next to nothing, until when Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala brought Islam. And because of Islam, we are dignified. Whenever or wherever we seek dignity beside Islam, Allah will take us back to where we were. And of course, that's what the Muslims unfortunately have been saying. We ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to return the dignity of Islam in our lives. Ameen. And to protect all of us, Ya Rabbal Alameen. We can see that if we do not value that dignity of Islam, if we do not share that message, that peace of Islam, not only that people will not see it, but we ourselves will lose it. When you ask many Muslims what Islam is, they will tell you Islam is like five pillars. That's what we say, right? And that's not correct. The Prophet ﷺ never said that Islam is composed of 5 pillars. He never said that. Never. He said Islam was built upon 5 pillars. It's built upon 5 pillars. But it is not 5 pillars. Islam is to find rest in the hands of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, in the hands of your Creator. When you submit yourself, you will find rest and peace in the hands of God Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. That's what Islam is. When we talk about Iman, we say Iman is 6 pillars. No, there are 6 pillars of Iman. It's built upon 6 pillars. But it's not 6 pillars. Iman comes from Amna and has to do with the Yumna. It comes from security, when you have security. Because you are you are with Allah, you are connected to Allah. You accept that Allah is your creator. It's not mere faith. It's a security, it's a blessing. And that blessing that was given to us by Allah through Rasulullah, it is our mission, all of us, to take these blessings to people. Let's see if your father passed and he gives you billions of dollars or millions of dollars or whatever he had left as inheritance for you to share with your siblings, and you keep it for yourself. Would that be just? Of course no. If we think Islam is just fasting and going to the masjid and forget the others, and not telling them about the beauty of this deen, not showing them the beauty of this deen throughout our character, that means we are betraying the Father, which is the Prophet ﷺ in this term, who gave us this blessing from Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says, I was sent as a teacher. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ مُعَلِّمًا. And he said he was sent as a da'i. قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِ أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. And if we keep it for ourselves, that itself is a form of this sickness that I called in the very beginning, which is an ananiya. We just want good for ourselves. That is very, very wrong. We not only have this good, share it, but we don't see anything that comes, that anything comes from us. We all see the hands of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Umar, when he was about to die, he said to his son, Abdullah ibn Umar, put my cheek on earth so that Allah have mercy on me. He said, I wish that whatever that I did in Islam, or my Islam and everything, I wish that Allah does not even reward me and does not even, check on me, meaning come and see what I did or take me accountable because of what I did. Sayyidina Ahmad ibn Hanbal, who is named as Jabal al-Sunnah or Imam al-Sunnati wal Jama'ati, we all know the tremendous job and work he did in Islam. When a person asked, made the dua for him and said, Jazakallahu anil Islami khaira. May Allah reward you on behalf of Islam. He got upset, he got angry. He said, no, who I am. May Allah reward Islam on my behalf. Because whatever I am, whatever I do, it is because of Islam. Without Islam, I'm nobody. And with Islam, I am everything that you see. So we ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to make it easy for all of us to humble ourselves before Allah and humble ourselves before the creation of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. هذا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم آمين. والصلاة والسلام على إمام المرسلين صلى الله عليه وسلم وحبيبنا محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. Just two things before we pray. Number one is today is the 5th of the month. Inshallah, we want to help pay the rent and the bills. So inshallah, after Salah, Brother Muhammad will be here. So inshallah, we try to raise some funds to cover the expenses, because we see that every single month we have very short when it comes to the expenses to be covered. And number two, we have our brother Charles Park, who was just elected as an assemblyman, and he came to visit. Inshallah ta'ala, he also will share with you some words after the salah. اللهم إني داعي آمين. آمين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. آمين يا رب. وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. آمين. وجد علينا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. آمين. اللهم زينا بزينة القرآن. آمين. وأكرمنا بكرامة القرآن. آمين. وألبسنا بخلعة القرآن. آمين. وعافنا من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة بحرمة القرآن. آمين يا رب. اللهم لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته. آمين. ولا هما إلا فرجته. آمين. ولا دينا إلا قضيته. آمين. ولا مريضا إلا شفيته. آمين. ولا عدوا إلا كفيته. آمين. ولا عيبا إلا سترته. آمين. ولا ميتا إلا رحمته. آمين. ولا فاسدا إلا أصلحته. آمين. ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة إلا قضيتها ويسرتها لنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مباركا مرحوما، واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما، ولا تجعل فينا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم أعلي كلمة الإسلام كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واجعلنا ممن نصر الدين، واخذل من خذل المسلمين ولا تجعلنا ممن خذل المسلمين. آمين يا رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، سلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.